still talking with Artie?
Now, I used to go, I'm not afraid to say it, I used to go with Artie to meetings and stuff. We all tried to help and be his friend and be there for him.
Are we worried that Sour Shoes has your act completely down pat?
So talented, he's a savant, and I just thought he was amazing. In the NFL tease games where you're getting it to your advantage, and remember, just because you tease up the Bengals to 12.5 doesn't mean that they couldn't have lost that game by 20.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Here's the Pitch. I'm your YouTube friend Brad, and again, this is sponsored by Massa's Restaurants in St. Louis. 5 locations. STLMassas.com is their website. Go there if you're driving through. My guest today is Scott Ferrall, FerrallOnTheBench.com. We're going to talk to him about his times at Howard 101. You know his voice. Can't wait to talk to him. If you like real estate information, financial news, law, check out my other stuff as I'm kind of branching out and adding other channels to my channel here. So we'll be doing some more real estate talk, how to buy a house, how to refinance, all that good stuff. And I'll continue to do some daily updates on the Stern Show. I've been doing the rundown of what I've heard, and Stephen A. Smith was on Wednesday of January 18th. I know these kind of are evergreen, these interviews, so but the Stephen A. Smith interview is pretty good, especially the stuff talking about Kobe Bryant. But I do a daily rundown as a short, so go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Do super thanks. I have that enacted, and I'm going to even do memberships. Are people interested in that? Comment and let me know what you want to do. What do you want to see on this channel coming forward here in 2023? Hopefully you're enjoying what you're seeing now. And again, the super thanks is enacted, so go do that if you're a big fan. I appreciate that. Comment, subscribe, get the notification bells ringing because I'm going to be doing more and more content here in this year and beyond. I've enjoyed seeing a lot of the comments, good and bad. You can do whatever you'd like. So with all that said, by the way, I think I've said this, but I'm doing stories every day with a rundown of the show. 1 minute long rundowns of what I've heard on the show. So I can do more of those too, and I can make them longer. I can make these actual weekly reviews. Maybe I'll do that. So with all that out of the way, let's get to our guest today. It is Scott Ferrall. Hello, Scott. Hello, Ferrall. What am I calling you? I got to call you Ferrall, right?
Yeah, Ferrall. Everybody calls me Ferrall, even my family.
Thank you for joining me. This is very exciting to see you and talk to you, get a phone call from you, and you're calling me. I think I called you when I was like 15 one time way back in the day. Enjoy your stuff. FerrallOnTheBench.com. What do you have? 18 shows going? Tell us. Let's just get it out of the way. What are we doing? We're doing a lot of sports gambling talk where you're at. How do we hear you? You've moved to Sports Grid. Give us the whole lowdown.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's weird because for me, I've been doing it so long. Most people don't realize I've been doing it. This is like 39 years. I'm going on 40 years of doing, radio and TV straight. Gambling talk is my favorite talk, bro, because everywhere I did gambling talk, I got in trouble, except at Howard. At Howard 101, they never said a word to me about anything I ever did. It was so awesome. It gave me just a massive boner. But everywhere else, CBS, Ferrall on the Bench, Westwood One, Infinity, Clear Channel, all of them. I was like I was a pedophile. They treated me like a drug dealer or a pedophile because I was always talking gambling. Spreads, money lines, teasers, reverses, totals, telling people how to bet, how much money to bet, units. That got me in all kinds of trouble. I got sued. I went to court over it. But then, when the Supreme Court passed gambling, it changed everything. So now that everyone's gambling and everyone's in bed with gambling, the NFL, NHL, MLB, NBA, they're all having sex with gambling now because they're making billions off of it. Now, all of a sudden, it's fucking okay for Ferrall to talk gambling. So that's why I left and went to Sports Grid. Now, that answer took fucking 12 minutes.
Well, I timed it. It was only 5.5. We're okay.
All right.
We still have time. When did you when did this voice show up for you? When did you realize the voice that you have? Because it is distinct. Was it 12 years old, puberty, right away? When did this gravelly? It seems like it hurts. Tell me about your voice.
It doesn't hurt. Most people originally think that it's fake. And I get a lot of,
There's no way you could fake this for this long, for this many years, that many hours a day. It's crazy.
You can't do it. But people, fans, and enemies, whatever you want to call them, detractors, people that don't like me, there's millions of them. The line goes all the way to the back of the cinema, around the corner, but they got popcorn back there, so you're good if you're stoned, eat popcorn, drink fluids, and you'll get over me. People hate me. They hate my voice. They say I gravel. I drink glass. I have cancer. I smoke cigarettes. Basically, you name it, I've heard it. But it's really pathetic because, the bottom line is I've had this voice since I was probably 15, and I've made a ton of money with it. And it's made me. It's very distinguished. It stands out. No one ever forgets it. People talk about it all the time with me, like, what's with, the voice, whether it's you, Brad, or anybody else. And I tell them, look, my dad, he's gone. My mom and dad are gone. But my dad had a golden throat. So my father talked like this. Good evening. He was an anchorman for CBS before they struck in 65 CBS, and he was out of work for a year and a half. So he left and went to work at U.S. Steel. And he was with U.S. Steel for 44 years. And he even retired and moved to Europe and ran steel mills in Serbia and in former Yugoslavia. They run mills there and give people jobs and make steel for a quarter of the price of making it in Gary, Indiana, and in America. So he did it his whole life, and he had a golden throat. And he stood out when he walked in a room. He sounded like James Earl Jones. It was always this way from 15. And it's just, the one thing about it, Brad, is it's very strong. My voice is, it's unmistakable, and it never goes away. Like, I don't lose my voice when I yell and scream. If I yell and scream, you'll know it. And when I'm mad, you'll know it. And people go, just calm down, you're mad. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. I'm not mad. You'll know when I'm mad. I turn fucking colors when I'm mad. And so when I scream and yell, or if I go to a game, if I go to a hockey game or a concert, a Metallica show, I went to a lot of those at Sirius when I was there with Jose Mangan. And I would scream and yell and sing and scream all day and yell all day. I never lose my voice. So lucky for me, like my son went to the Devil Penguin game the other day, and he came home, he lost his voice because he's a pussy. I'm a grown fucking man, and I don't lose my voice. So lucky for me, I do 7 days a week, and I've been doing it for 40 years. So you would think a guy that yells and screams as much as I do and talks as much as I do would lose my voice once in a while. But I don't even lose my voice when I'm sick. Like some people are like, oh, I have a cold. I can't, mommy, I need your nipple. I don't fucking need a nipple unless I'm fucking, and I don't need help with my voice. I don't need to have tea and fucking honey and all this Vicks fucking vapor rub. I just go raw dog, bong hits, let's go.
Are we now? You talked about Howard. Are we worried that Sour Shoes has your act completely down pat, and that any day now Sour Shoes will just completely ruin your career? What do you think of that impression? And tell me a little bit about Sour Shoes.
I think he's fucking fantastic. I just thought he was just so funny and so incredible and so talented. He's a savant, and I just thought he was amazing. And I always enjoyed having him run the show. I would let him come on the show for hours at a time and sing and impersonate, everyone. Mike and the Mad Dog. He did everybody. He did John Sterling on my show. I mean, he imitated so many voices that I can't even remember them. Like there were so many that he did, and so perfectly that I think he's one of the smartest, talented entertainers, bizarre freak that I've ever met in my life. I honestly love him. He used to call my show at CBS when I left Howard. When I went back to do clean femme radio at CBS. I mean, it was like fucking rated G. I mean, I had a placard in front of my microphone, a giant sign I put up, 0 tolerance, no cussing, no swearing. That's the 3 lines that I had, big, giant, bold, Sharpie, drawn in like thick. Like I was on meth one day drawing it, and I did it so thick. So that I would remember that I wasn't on Howard anymore, and that I was doing rated G family sports talk radio. I mean, I gotta tell you, it was diaper shit. It was really femmy radio. But you gotta remember, when I went there, I had a pension at CBS like Howard did for 20 years. And when I left CBS, I went to work with Howard. And then I went back. And people say, why would you ever leave Howard? And it wasn't like that. It was a different story, which we'll get into. But why I went back there, a different story. One of the reasons, the main reason for me was they paid me a lot of money and I got that pension going again. So I got another 8 years. I got 28 years of pension from CBS. And when I retire eventually, they're going to send me money until I'm fucking dead. And when I'm dead, they're going to send half of it until 34C's dead. So people say, why would you leave Howard? Listen, the writing was on the wall for me at Howard. I knew I'm a smart guy, and I'm not anything special, but I'm fairly clever. And when I sensed that they were going to make the channels all about Howard, I thought that my feeling was they'd had enough about 8 years of all the 1-hour shows and all the, comedy shows and funny shows and this show and that King of all, but this and that. Now listen, I loved all them shows. Miserable Men, Jackie. I loved all of the shows. I think I was very liberal there with everyone. I was friends with fucking everybody. I was never the drama pussy at Howard 101 or Howard 100. I was never involved in all of the shenanigans that go on there. I never was. I was just a cool dude that did a show. I never felt like I mattered, but I felt like I was a badass and that the show was badass and it was fun and funny and kick-ass and it was fast and loud and hard like sex. And every night we did it. We gave it everything we had. Even we did it for years, wasted. I mean, we did it literally drunk every night for like 4 years. There was about a 4-year run in there of the 8 years that we were literally drunk every night we did it. We would drink from 5 o'clock until 8. At 7:45, we would stumble up 48 and go in that building just shit-faced and do the show. Now, you got to remember, Mel Carmison told me one day, he said, listen, you are so much funnier when you're drunk and high. Just get fucked up and do it. Because you're not funny when you're sober. Because at one point, at the end, like the last 2 years, I quit drinking. Because I drank for 30 years. And I quit drinking, right? And that really sucked. Because it's like, oh, God, I'm finally a pussy. I'm finally a pussy. I'm not drinking. I quit drinking because I drank like a fish. And I could drink 24 hours a day. I could drink like a champion, like a British sailor. And my kids are like, all he does is drink. And I'm like, oh, shit. When the kids start saying all you do is drink, it's time to put it down. So I put it down. When I put it down, Mel told me one day on the elevator at the day of Thanksgiving break, like everyone's going like Wednesday, Thursday, Thanksgiving. He's like, honestly, you were so much funnier when you were high and drunk. He's like, can't you just start drinking again? And then he winked at me.
The greatest boss I've ever heard of. That's the greatest thing I've ever heard a boss ever say to an employee in the history of life. I need this in my life. So not that I'm almost done drinking myself now at this age. But back in the day, I would love that. Just keep getting drunk. You're way better when you're drunk. That's how I feel.
He was an incredible man and boss for me. Like, you have to understand, like, much like Howard, and I think Opie and Anthony, and Don Imus, Mel Carmison made me. Okay, so I was doing radio in Vegas, nationally, and then I moved to CNN, then I moved to San Francisco, and then Mel Carmison called me. He met me at the Four Seasons in San Francisco for lunch, and he offered me a shitload of money to go do Ferrall events on WFAN New York and 250 radio stations, and 90% of them were Howard stations. So they ran Howard in the morning, they ran Ferrall at night. I was going to be the late night king of radio, sports talk. And when that guy takes you to fucking lunch and offers you a shitload of money, you take it. All I remember yelling, he didn't want to eat with me because I'm a pain in the ass, and I never shut up. And he made me the offer with my agent at the time, this woman named Lissa Miller, and I loved her. She was a crazy bitch. And he gave me the offer, and I said yes, right down there. And he got up, he said, I'll talk to you. And he walked out of the Four Seasons restaurant. I yelled across the room in the Four Seasons with all rich prick assholes everywhere in diamonds. I yelled, you're the fucking man, Mel. And that was it. I started working for him then, and I worked for him the rest of my career. So if there's one guy that I would, tell you made me, it's him. He made me. He gave me everything I ever had. He took me to the highest highs in radio. No one's, done what I've done in terms of, like, I was the first syndicated sports talk show before Rome and all of them. I'm good friends with Jim Rome. He's a badass. I'm good friends with everybody. I'm not a dick. I support everyone that does this for a living in radio or TV. Like, if you're in this business, it's a brutal business. I want everyone to have a job, so I'm cool with everybody. But I was the first, and I was huge. And I remember Jim came to see me do the show in LA, and then he started doing his syndicated show, and he took off and blew up and made tons of money. And I see him at the Super Bowl or wherever, and I love him, and I think highly of him. He's very talented. But Mel made me, and I couldn't have done it without Mel Karmazin. I'm friends with him, his son, Craig, who's done the same thing his father did. He's run tons of radio stations all over the country, Chicago, New York, Milwaukee. He owns stations everywhere, LA, Karma Broadcasting, Good Karma. So, that whole family, I love the Karmazins. And if it wasn't for Mel, you have to understand, I would have never known Howard. I would have never known Don Buchwald, who became my agent. Imagine being Don Buchwald's client. And in Howard Stern's, the only thing that fucking matters at Don Buchwald, let me tell you, I knew I was like the fucking gravel under Howard's fucking sandals. And he was Jesus walking through the desert. And I was fucking the guy carrying the salmon. But I was like, this is fucking crazy. I'm in good company here. And I was working for Mel and working for Don Buchwald. And then imagine me. One day I'm at CBS and I get this call that Howard Stern wants me to go to Sirius with him and do Howard 101. I fucking went in the bathroom and jerked off. I mean, I just started fucking jerking off right then and there. Like, it was like the greatest thing that had ever happened to me because I look up to him so much. I think so highly of him. He's just, I think, the most incredible person I've ever met in my life. I love him and Beth, and just the fact that I got to be there for 8 years doing that show for him and leading millions of sports fans to his feet, because he's not a sports fan. He could care less about sports. But he knew, I honestly believe he knew that I could bring sports fans, millions of them, to his show and lead them right in there like a horse to water, right? Like, I felt like that was kind of my job. Entertain people at night and bring them into that Stern world. And when I got that opportunity, believe me, I fucking jumped at it. And it was the greatest job I ever had, Brad. I mean, bar none. It'll never be topped. I love doing Sports Grid TV. The TV's way more fun for me doing it. Like, in terms of, I like doing TV better than radio. I did radio for 35 years. I got sick and fucking tired of it. Doing late night radio sucks. I was the king of it. But when you work at 10 to 2 or 8 to midnight or 10 to 1 or overnights, it'll fucking ruin your life. I mean, it is no joke. You have no fucking life at all. If you do morning drive like Howard did, it's brutal. Why do you think people always say he's never on? Like, if you had to do radio at 5 in the morning every fucking day of your life, you lose your mind. I mean, it's a life wrecker. It's torture. it's painful. They get up at like 3 a.m. Bro, I can't get up at 3 a.m. to do shit. But I could do late night. But after 35 years of it, I got sick of it. So I retired from doing the radio. Now my show on TV is simulcast on Sirius Channel 159. Sports Grid has its own channel, 159. So I'm still on radio every day. I'm on a lot of affiliates on terrestrial as well. I'm in San Diego. I mean, I'm literally everywhere on terrestrial. And I got to keep it clean. The TV show is clean, but nothing ever compared to working for Howard. Nothing even came close to working at the Howard Stern channels. The freedom and ability to be me and the uncensored reality that it was the greatest gift I ever got in my life, because I'm fucked up in the head and I need to be on that kind of channel to be me, to really, truly, fully be me. It was about Howard. It's all because of Howard, and all because of, frankly, Don Buchwald and Tim Sabean. You have to understand, I worked for Tim Sabean for 20 years, and I worked for him everywhere. In Philly, in New York. I did Eagles pre and post for him on YSP. So I had all the right power players in my corner. And Howard always says he never heard of me, didn't know me, all the rest. And that's all bullshit, okay? I was on every station he was on, and I was a Mel guy, and I worked, and Don Buchwald was my agent. So, who are you kidding? I mean, I was lucky to be in that stable, right? And I always felt like I got called for a reason. So it worked out for me. Like, you have no idea. Like, I'll never forget it. It was the greatest 8 years of my life. And I've never met more fucked up people, funny people, demented, twisted, bizarre people. Everyone. I mean, I'm friends to this day with Mary Ann. I'm friends with High Pitch Eric, all of them. I knew everyone. I was devastated when Boots died. I am, Shuli and I still talk regularly. I'm good friends with Jim Florentine. I was very close with Artie. Artie and I have been down some, cobblestone roads, right? So for me, it was family. It was the greatest fucking experience of my life.
Are you still talking with Artie? Have you had conversations? I almost hope that he's not calling you, because that means he's gambling and possibly drinking. What is any thought? And just give me some fun, Artie. You and Artie got along. He loved talking sports, I'm sure. Just give me your interactions with him, and if you've heard from him, how's he doing? We haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, I haven't seen Artie in a long time. I mean, we've gone our separate ways. I'm saddened by that. I'm very busy doing the show. And I do the show from my own studio. I built my own studio that I'm in right now, doing the show with you. And I don't go to, Howard anymore in Midtown. I don't go to CBS and WFAN down on Hudson Street anymore. But Artie used to have a studio down there when he was doing his TV show late at night. And it was on Houston, and it was right around the corner from me. And I would see him on the streets periodically, because I would run down there and grab food and shit. And that's where all the food was, right on the block past, on Houston from where I was. I had to go up a long city block. And at the end of that block was where Artie was. And I could look up into the window and see Artie and wave, and he'd see me, because they did it right there in this giant window and studio. And I would see him there a lot. I'm just going to be honest. After Artie had issues and problems, he kind of vanished from everyone's life. He disappeared off the face of the earth. Now, I used to go, I'm not afraid to say it, I used to go with Artie to meetings and stuff. We all tried to help and be his friend and be there for him. And Artie and I go way back with sports, right? Artie was like the only real, truly hardcore sports fan in that group. Now, I know John Hine was a sports fan. I know Fafa Flohai was a sports fan. Shuli's a sports fan. I won't deny Gary knows tons of sports. He's been on my show a million times talking sports. He knows New York sports as good as anybody. I think he's like a New York sports guy. I'm a world sports guy. Okay, I can talk about anything all over the world, and I know a lot about what's going on with teams and players and ownership and money all over the world. I always felt like those guys were centralized. Like Hine is a Pittsburgh guy, and so we hit it off. I'm a Pittsburgh guy, Steelers season ticket holder. I love the Penguins and Steelers more than my own family. So I got along really well with John. But Artie was like a real hardcore sports fan. Like I went to Yankee games with him, and you know, he'd give me tickets all the time to his, you know, seats when he couldn't go, whatever. So we were always great friends. I've been to his, you know, home. I know his mom. I've been to his parties down the shore. I've been to Robin's crib down there in the shore, and all of them treated me so well, like as a family member, like as a brother, as a son. And, you know, going to Howard's wedding, are you fucking kidding me? With all those debutantes and celebrities, Billy Joel, I'm sitting there with Barbara Walters at my fucking dinner table. Are you kidding me? Like, my wife was, I think, coming in her pants. So all I know is, you know, John Bon Jovi, I'm like, what is happening here? This isn't happening to me. So when Artie fell off the face of the earth, you know, I'm not a fisherman. I can't, you know, go fish him out of the sea and find him, and I can't do anything to help anybody. You know what I mean? Like, you got to do your own thing. You got to help yourself. When I saw Artie every day, I'd be more than happy to hang out with him, go have dinner with him, go to a meeting, whatever. I was totally on Artie's team always. I'm good friends with Jimmy Palumbo, who did the movie Beer League with Artie. So all those guys are my good friends, right? So you do the same thing, Brad, for your good friends. I was saddened by everything that happened, but it's really none of my fucking business what people's buzz is on and partying. And I'm one to talk. I partied like a rock star. I have done all kinds of horrible things with, you name it, Motley Crue, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Slash. I partied with all those guys before they got sober. I partied with them, and when I saw Slash at Sirius, he said, "You're not fucking dead yet," because I should have been dead. I did bad things. When I lived in LA, I was a lot faster than I was in New York, right? Like, so I was younger, and I was really going in sixth gear. I mean, I was a hardcore, crazy motherfucker. And I was on MTV. I had long hair. I smoked fucking weed. I drank like a fish. I did drugs. I absolutely was a fucking lunatic. So most of those guys, Metallica, when they hired me to do Acoustica, they knew me as a partier, a wild man, an insane dude. And then when I moved to New York and started working, the older I got, the more obviously I mellowed out. And then I stopped partying, and then I stopped hanging around Artie. I don't party anymore. I'm an old dude, and all I do is play basketball and do TV shows. I don't drink anymore. I don't do drugs. I don't do anything. So I think, Brad, basically that means I'm a pussy.
Well, I was going to say early on, it was Dad of the Year. You called your son a pussy for yelling at a hockey game. I love that. That's. We may run out of time on Zoom here. I may ask you just to give me 5 more minutes. I have 2.5 questions left. Tell me the best strategy for gambling, because I love to gamble. I have a few that I like to give out. I'm going to give out a free play for everyone here today. This is my play for you. I am into money line parlays right now with teams that NBA teams play really well at home versus NBA teams playing really terrible on the road. This is what I've been looking at. Same with the NHL. So here's my pick for the night. Calgary money line against Columbus, Toronto Maple Leafs at home, and then Milwaukee Bucks on the road against the Pistons. I'm putting $35 on that to win $75, to win $52 for a total of $75. That's my picks for tonight. Free picks right here. Ferrall, I know we can buy some from you. Are you putting these down? Are you taking these down? I'm wondering.
Well, I'm looking at them. So I do, you know, FerrallOnEvents.com. A lot of people go to my site for my picks, and they buy them, and they're really good. We do sharp plays. I used to do every game, every night, hundreds of games. And, you know, I changed the whole philosophy. Now we just center on 5 or 6 plays a night, some props, and make people money. I love that Flames bet. I love the Leafs bet. I don't have a problem with money line parlays. I really don't. The more legs you add, the more you're going to lose. Okay, so eventually one of those legs will trip you up. I believe in betting single bets way more than parlays. You know, in the NFL, I find that teasers are a way better way to make money than betting spreads. If you bet spreads in the NFL, you will lose everything. Eventually, you will lose even more than everything.
Well, this year was a lot of – it was dogs. But it was dogs, right? If you went and kind of went with the 7-point, 8-point dogs, it felt like you were pretty safe because everyone's like, oh, I know that Buffalo's better. Or Kansas City, the Chiefs were never covering. And every week, everybody's putting all their money out on the Chiefs or the Cowboys, and they weren't covering. And this is what I saw over the season. This is just Brad's little...
So So I bet teasers and hit them all. On this past weekend, I had the Chiefs down, and I had the Eagles down, tease them down, 6.5 points. That hit. And then on Sunday, I had the Bengals up to 12.5, and I had the Niners getting 3, teasing them down. If I would have fucked around with that Jaguars game, that field goal, they covered the 9.5. That last-minute field goal was the backdoor Led Zeppelin cover. So if you bet spreads in the NFL, they will take everything you have, your wife, your children, your house, your mortgage, your 401k, your savings. They'll take your dick. They'll take everything from you. But if you're smart, in the NFL, tease games where you're getting it to your advantage. And remember, just because you tease up the Bengals to 12.5 doesn't mean that they couldn't have lost that game by 20. You never know what's going to happen. People tease up. They're like, oh, I got 19 points. I'm good to go. And they lose by 21. So I think you have to be really smart. Sometimes it's smarter to tease down with good teams like I did the Eagles and the Niners. And both of those Saturday, Sunday teasers hit. So listen, here's one thing I know. If you bet, I've always said, get a bankroll, set your number. Let's say you got $5,000 or $10,000. That's your whole bankroll. Bet 1% of your bankroll and make all your units, which is bets, the same number. So if you bet 50 a game, bet 50 a game, all your games. If you bet 100, bet 100. If you bet 500, bet 500. If you bet 1,000, bet them all at 1,000. So what I would do is get a bankroll. Let's say it's 5 or 10,000. Let's say, just be a simple, small time better, $5,000. I would do every single bet. Every unit would be the same. I'd bet every game at $25 or $50 if you're playing with like $5,000. Because if you start betting 100 a game or 1,000 or even a nickel a game, you're going to lose your money. It's not going to take long for that bank to be gone. So I always tell people it's a very dangerous, slippery slope betting, right? So you have to know exactly what you're dealing with financially. If it's $5,000 your bankroll or $10,000, if that's all, then don't go anywhere out of bounds. Don't go over the limits. Don't do anything crazy or stupid or outrageous to exceed that limit. The limit, the total cap has to be your bankroll cap. If it's $5,000 or $10,000, right? And if your cap is $2,500 bankroll, bet $20 a game. Bet them all the same, and I think you'll have way more fun if you bet $20 a bet on every game every night. Let's say you bet 5 plays a night. It's $100. You can make that $2,500 or $5,000 last if you're not a fucking moron. It's people that bet too much money on every game, and then they have a bad day. All it takes is 1 or 2, 3 bad days, and you're finished. I don't have that problem, okay? Because I know exactly what my limit is, what my bankroll is, and I do the same unit on every bet. So even when I have a great day where I hit a bunch of bets, it's all the same money. I don't ever try to double the money or triple the money. I'm going to go for it today on this game. I'm going to bet $1,000 on the Niners. Don't ever do that, because you will not only lose your money, your wife will start fucking your bookie.
It's just so addicting that people just can't help themselves, especially when they're losing. They get on tilt. I get on tilt. I always have my December. I've always had this really good run of college basketball underdogs, between 14 and 20-point spreads against, top 25 teams, because it's always pretty close. I wanted to ask you.
Never chase the dragon, same as in drugs. You never get higher than the first hit. You chase it all day long and you just go downhill. Same thing in betting. If you bet the 1 o'clock games in the NFL on a Sunday and you have a really bad early game, sheet of all the 1 o'clock games and you lose 6 bets, if you think you're going to make it up with the 4 o'clock games and the Sunday night game, what's going to happen is you're going to double your losses and you're really going to have a bad Monday when you go to work and you can't buy lunch or dinner because you're fucking broke. Never chase the dragon when you're betting. And listen, on Sports Grid, on my show, 3 to 6 East, Monday through Friday, Saturdays I'm on at 12, Sundays I'm on usually for the 1 o'clock games. Next week I'll be on, I'm sure, at 3 o'clock for the one title game, and then the second title game I'm not on the air for. I only do a 3-hour Sunday show. So yesterday I did the Bills Bengals 3 to 6. I was on. So bottom line is, if you watch Sports Grid when I'm on 3 to 6, you won't believe it. It's literally 3 hours of nothing but gambling. It's literally 3 hours of betting, props, and making fun of people. So on Sports Grid, one of the good things about Sports Grid is they're very liberal about my, let's say, comedic value. So when I'm on the air with Carver High, the guy I stole from WFAN to work with me at CBS, and I brought him with me to TV, and Mafia, my old producer at Howard, he's been with me almost 20 years. We spend the entire 3 hours fucking with people, making fun of people, making fun of ourselves, abusing everyone everywhere. It's the funniest shit you've ever seen in your life, what we do to people. And then the rest of the time, literally, all we talk about is betting. How to bet, what to prop, what to play, what to parlay, what to one-game parlay, what to tease, what to reverse, what to total. That's all we do. So if you want to get into sports betting and you're not a fucking moron, this is for fans, if you're stupid, you will bet way too much money. You will lose all of your fucking money, guaranteed. But if you're smart, you're clever, and you want to learn how to smartly bet the same unit, the same thing every time, and build a bankroll, I guarantee you will turn that $5,000 into 10 grand. You'll turn that 10 grand into 20 grand. We help people make smart moves to make money. We do the most fantastic props. We hit another one over the weekend in the Giants game, that guy Boston for the Eagles. He scored in 9 straight games or something like that against the Giants. He did it again at plus 350. So you bet a hundo, you're looking at 350. Bottom line is, if you watch us on Sports Grid, on this show I do, on Sports Grid TV, the Sports Grid app, Roku, Sling, Fubo, YouTube TV, and you can even just listen on Sirius 159. You don't even have to watch my ugly ass. But if you watch that show or listen to that show every day, 7 days a week, I fucking guarantee you're going to make money.
This is the guy right here, folks. Ferrall, I have to ask one last question. Mike and the Mad Dog, they're reuniting. I know you're excited for that. Tell me. I think Mad Dog you're okay with, right? Mike, we're sick of, right? Tell me a little bit about your excitement for the big reunion. And Mad Dog calls into Stern a lot. Are you a little jealous that he's kind of taking your sports run? He's becoming more friendly with.
I never really went on Howard that much, right? Like once or twice. I don't remember being on there a lot. I never, honestly, I never sucked his balls when I was there. I just did my show and went home. I knew I didn't matter, and I knew that I had to just worry about doing that and don't worry about not being on with him or being a guest or any of this other stuff. I never ever once thought that way. But listen, here's the truth. Chris and I are friends. I like Chris. I see Chris at the Super Bowl every year. I do the show. I'll be in Phoenix right next to Chris. So Sirius puts Chris and I up on a giant stage, and it's Chris, Mad Dog Radio, it's NFL Radio, and it's Sports Grid, Ferrall, Coast to Coast. There's 3 shows on that stage. It's the biggest stage at the Super Bowl. It's the biggest stage at Media Row, bar none. All these other guys have big things going on, McAfee, ESPN, but the Sirius XM stage is fucking titties. It is the most unbelievable setup you've ever seen in your life. And imagine the noise of having Russo on 2 to 6, and I'm on 3 to 6, and the two of us literally 5 feet apart doing. He's doing a radio show. I'm doing a TV and radio simulcast. I get along really well with Chris. Here's why. When he went to Sirius and started doing the Mad Dog channel, he had left WFAN. And so when I was at the Fan all those years, Mike and Chris hated my guts. I was a wild man. I was crazy. I was nuts. I was also #1 at night for 5 fucking years in a row, every single book. So suck my fucking balls. And they were like, this guy's disgusting. He's repulsive. He's immature. He's an idiot. He makes WFAN look bad. He's a terrible person. It's just horrible having him on, all the rest. So I went to Howard. I'm working at Howard for 3-4 years. Here comes Russo in the door. And then once he saw me working for Howard and doing what I was doing for Howard Stern, and that I was there on Howard's, meal plan, he knew that I was fucking good at what I did. And there was no more of this petty bullshit at WFAN. And Ferrall's this crazy lunatic in LA ruining our station. All I ever did at WFAN was kick ass and take names. And then they brought me back there to CBS after Howard to do 8 more years of dominance. The only person I don't like is Fat Sessa. I never liked him. He's a cunt. To this day, he can go fuck a horse in the ass. I don't care what any of them think of me. And I just know he's great at what he does. He's an incredible talent. He's an amazing, just badass in everything he's ever touched in radio. He's been incredible. His career has been incredible. He's made tons of money. He's been the biggest thing that ever happened in sports talk in New York with Mike and Mad. I don't deny any of that. I think he's fabulous at what he does. I also think he's a cunt. And I'll beat his ass. I'm 6'4", 230 pounds of fuck you, okay? And I will dunk in his face. Russo, he's a little skinny twig. He's a little teeny weeny, like Ric Flair would say, with your teeny little neck and your teeny little legs and your skinny little arms. I'm a fucking grown man, violent fucking penetrator with a rack, straight to the 10. I ain't losing nothing to that fat ass. And the skinny twig, I love Russo. I think he's great. He's on Mad Dog. He's on First Take with Smith. He's fabulous. Fat Sess is fabulous at what he does. He don't like me. I don't like him. Fuck him. I don't really care what he thinks of me. It's funny. I made a shitload of money too. Blow me. I don't care. This and that. I know this. Like, he's awesome. I'm better. I'm better in bed. I'm better in sports. I'm better on the air. I'm funnier. I'm better looking. I mean, I got it all going. But I never see that guy. And if he died tomorrow, I wouldn't give a fuck.
Wow. I think it's a good way to end. Anything else you'd like to add today? I think we had some fun. We talked some sports. What do you think about the NFL? Can you give us some early thoughts on the NFL? Do we want to even talk? I mean, it's pretty. -1 for each team. So the home looks pretty even.
I still think Joe Burrow's the best player in the NFL. I think he's the MVP. I think he's going back to the Super Bowl. He kicked the Bills' ass and he kicked their teeth in. And I think that, I think the Niners' defense is incredible. I thought the Cowboys made their offense look relatively pedestrian in that game. They're lucky they won that game. I think they won that game because Prescott made 2 mistakes. And you make 2 mistakes in a title game or in a divisional semi in the fourth quarter, you lose. At any point in those big games, you make a big mistake, you lose. So they beat them 19-12, whatever. I think they're going to have a nightmare on their hands against the Philadelphia Eagles at the Lincoln Philly. I think the Niners can beat them and go to the Super Bowl. That would be 13 wins in a row and go to the Super Bowl. I don't really want to see again for like the 4th time in my life, the Bengals and Niners in the Super Bowl. I think they've done it twice. I don't want to see that. I actually have this sneaking suspicion it'll be Bengals and Eagles. I think that Hurts and that running game and that, Brown, Smith, and Goddard are as good as the Niners, and they're playing in Philly. Everybody's going to be drunk and lit. I think they got, that 1 point is nothing. I think playing at Philly's good for 3 points. I think Purdy's going to have a hard time on the road in a title game. All these games he's played have been at home. Cushy, everybody's sucking his dick. His mommy and daddy love him. He ain't going to have no fucking lovers and family in Philly. He's going to have a nightmare on his hands. I think those fans are going to wish death on him. And I think the Eagles are going to try to kill him. And look what the Eagles did to the Giants. They fucked them up. I mean, they are good. Eagles, Bengals for me. And it'll be a different Super Bowl than what we've seen in the past several times.
I've enjoyed this. I appreciate your time. I normally wrap up my show, but I'm going to give you the last 30 seconds. Just do your thing. I haven't even heard your catchphrases or anything. So just give me 30. I don't want to ask you to be a monkey here and do like little tricks and stuff, but I want you to wrap up my show today. Just do your thing for the fans at home. I thank you for watching. Here's Ferrall.
I just think that Brad's doing a kick-ass job. It's unbelievable. He's had all kinds of killer guys on. I watch him talk to Tim, Sadie, my man, all of them, you name it, Jim, Lauren, Payne, Shuli, all of the badasses talking about the days at Howard 101 and Howard 100 in the Stern channels, the greatest channels in the history of radio. Brad's kicking ass and taking names. I love him. I'm glad that he called me up to do the show. I'm glad I got to hang out with you today and go down memory lane and trip a little bit. And all I have to say at the end is shake it. Ooh.